Hey, Senda.
Hey, Phil.
Do you want to chat and chit or chit and chat?
I don't know. I think we should chit and chat.
Sounds good to me. Cue music. And welcome to another fine episode of Panda's Talking Games. I am your host who likes to chit,
And
Phil.
And I almost interrupted you telling you everybody about how you like to chit, but I am your other host who likes to chat, Senda, who apparently is really excited to chat tonight.
Yes. So in case you haven't decoded this, the topic for tonight, it's a chit chat episode, the March edition. It may not be the only March edition one, and we'll talk about that later in the show. But for now, it's our March chit chat, which means that we're not doing a regular topic tonight. Life stuff has been we've both had a kind of busy life week. I'm going to talk a little bit about mine in the second part of the show. But in either case, what this means is that tonight's topic is what we call a chit chat. Do you want to tell them how the format goes for the chit chat?
Yeah, so basically what we do for our chit chats is we pick something in gaming that's giving us life and talk through that and try to give that the majority of the show, really. And then at the end, do a quick peek at something else that is not gaming specifically, that is also giving us life. That's just something that we are excited and passionate about right now.
Yes, and as always, we like to credit where we learned the phrase "giving us life," which was the Gauntlet podcast. So we thank the original Gauntleteers for such a fantastic term. I love it. I think it's so positive, right? Giving us life. What's giving us life in gaming?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm totally
passion. All the passion.
Yeah. I mean, which is, look, I think that's how you should approach gaming, right? Like, if you're going to be in the hobby for any length of time, or if you're going to try to turn pro in the hobby for any reason, you really need to on a regular basis evaluate what is giving you life in the hobby. I made this comment on the Misdirected mark, and I'm starting to think I'm going to stick towards it, that I'm going to start writing some sort of Marie Kondo like philosophy when it comes for RPGs. Like, you
should read the actual book.
Oh, I totally want to. I totally want to first.
And then I'm really sure that you probably could, because I think it's a philosophy you could probably just apply to things. Just everything.
But I mean, I think it's been like a prevailing theme of the pandemic that has, what's been really not, I mean, I don't want to say there have been upsides to the pandemic, but if there are,
a silver lining,
if there are some silver linings, the slowing down of things consciously, like the conscious effort I know I took to slow down things in my life, has kind of allowed me to take stock of things and kind of let go of some things that just aren't as important. And sometimes that's minor. Like, I cycled through a couple of games because, as it turns out, they just weren't giving me life. Mm-hmm. But we're both going to talk about games in just a second that are giving us life.
Yes. Yes.
Would you like to go first?
Would you like me to go first so that you can control my timing?
I think I would, actually. I'm afraid if I let you go after me that you might run unchecked in your enthusiasm.
I might just go on forever.
It's possible. It's entirely possible. So I think that I'm gonna ask you the simple question. Hey, Senda, what is giving you life in gaming tonight?
Yeah. So if you've been following me on Twitter or on TikTok, or listening to the Bamboo Lounges after the episodes, you probably have a guess about this one, but I'm going to talk about it in a little bit more detail. So I'm playing a game right now that is a solo journaling game called Field Guide to Memory by Jian Shim and Xingyin Kor. Sorry. And it's amazing. It's amazing and I love it so much. Anyway, lots of noises of just like, it's so good. But the thing that I wanted to kind of specifically talk about are, I think, some of the things that make this particular game and then going forward this style of game so very attractive to me in terms of being a life-giving or spoon-giving or spell slot-giving exercise, right? And Jian and Xingyin actually came up with terminology to describe what they were doing because they're doing it very intentionally. And I've played other games that have played with it before, but I haven't heard a word to truly describe it or to call it out in a way that I would be able to try and like search for it again, right? So the thing that I want to say about Field Guide to Memory is just to give you a basic idea. It's a journaling game in which they've been sending us one email prompt a day, which we've been following up on. And what we're doing is not just journaling, but then we have all this a word that I can't say. Ephemera. There we go.
There you go. Okay.
We just have all this really cool ephemera that is coming with the game, right? So some of them are like letters from people or photos of things or like charts, pages of this and that. They're kind of all coming as pieces of the game and pieces of the story for us to invest in, interact with, and then, do as we will in terms of basically using those pieces to scrapbook into the journal that we're doing. Like you could do this and just write the parts. But you can also do this, and this is what I'm doing, and like I have printed out literally everything that they have sent me, and each of those things is in this journal, right? So every single day that happens as a prompt is between 2 to 3 spreads of pages in this journal. And I love it. And it's become a really cool physical artifact of my playthrough of the game and the story and the evolution of both this character, my understanding of this character, and the mystery story that we're following through, right? It's all three of those things at the same time, which is why it's super engaging for me because I am engaging with this game not only on a character development level and on a journaling and story level, right? Which is the part where I get to mess around with how much of me personally is in here and all of that kind of stuff. I actually have an article about solo games coming out on Gnome Stew. Let's see, what's today? It's actually going to drop the same day as this episode. So you should go check that out because I talked a ton about solo games and why they're really interesting right now. And so I won't rehash all of that necessarily. But this game is specifically built to create a cool artifact. That is something that you take with you out of the game and out of the experience. And so it's clicking with me both in that I'm doing the character creation and the storytelling, and also as a creative outlet in that I'm doing like, and again, this is something you can engage with as much or as little as you want, but I'm spending quite a bit of time doing page layout, design, what photo goes where, how do I put this together, how do I make it look both like really nice and cool and also kind of field journally, because that is the kind of the look and feel and aesthetic, that's what I'm looking for, of the game itself, right? So like there's like little doodles of like animal tracks like walking through my pages and various cryptids just sort of stuck in all over the place because it's about cryptozoology. So like all of that stuff is just kind of in there scattered throughout, making each page a different design experience. So when I say I've done 3 pages in a day, that means I've done 3 scrapbooking spreads along with writing story, right? Cool.
Sure. So this makes complete sense to me, right? Because this is a thing that I have, I've written about before and I've talked about in other in other situations, which is what I like to refer to as metagame. Not metagame is like, I always have to clarify this when they say this because this term is used ambiguously. It's not the metagame as in using personal knowledge inside the game, but it's the activity that you do outside of the game. And in this case, it's actually kind of part of the game as well. But it's the activity that you do that kind of supplements the role-playing portion of the game. And in this case, what it's doing is you're not only role-playing the character, right? But it's actually engaged the artistic side of you, which I think some people know this, but you are actually very artistic. Like you can draw and you can draw, and you've had a history of graphic design.
Yeah, like I actually have graphic design experience, but
exactly.
It's really nice to apply it to paper instead of digital, which is like a change, but also so tactile and cool.
Yeah, and you're crafty, and so so this game is engaging all of those things in addition to the journaling part of the game, because you and I have played a journaling game before, and while that was a lot of fun,
yes,
right, it didn't have the same intensity as this, because this is hitting like so many other parts of your creativity, right? So it it's doing it on purpose, but it's also really smart in that it's not a demand.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a demand for you to lay out these things like this. It is an opportunity. And so if you're not super artistic, right, you could play this at the level that you're comfortable at. Or if you're like me, I'm more comfortable digitally than I am in paper. If I was to play this, I could keep my journal like in a layout program.
Yeah, you absolutely could. Yeah.
And then just make mine into a PDF, which, I would lay out all my stuff, and I would, feel very artistic because I'm good at organizing shapes on a screen, where you are actually artistic.
Well, so here's the words that I wanted to specifically bring up tonight, because I think this is one way of saying what you have just correctly translated from my excited spiel about why I love this game, right? So there's two sort of terms, and they are keepsake games, which means this game was intentionally created to have you make an artifact of your journey through the game, that you do end the game with a specific, beautiful, memorable artifact. Like that's part of the point of the game, is to have that creation process.
Sure.
And it was part of their design goals. So that's really cool. And then the other one is connected path games. And this part is also doing it for me with this game. So the idea with a connected path game is that it is a game that generates a thing you do by yourself that makes a thing, right? I'm making a journal. But it's a thing that I can then share with other people, right? And have that community experience of sharing. And the way that that's working with this particular game is I spend a bunch of time designing really cool pages. Sometimes they come out better than others. I mean, I have my favorite pages. I have my less favorite pages. But, there's a lot of pages so far, right? So, but then every day I'm taking pictures of those journal pages and I'm putting them on Twitter with the hashtag, and then I troll through the hashtag and look at everybody else's pages, right?
Sure.
And the experience of sharing those and experiencing other people's pages is another dimension to this game, which I think is really cool. But I can also hand this journal to someone and be like, this is my experience, right? Here's this amazing keepsake artifact. And, have that opportunity to have a connected path experience where I can share it with someone.
So I'm going to tell you a couple things that come to mind as you're telling me this, right? So in my Forbidden Lands campaign, you play. So when we used to play in person, you play with a map on the table, and you actually have to mark the map with like every hex you've been through, because you don't have to make rolls to pathfind your way back through those hexes. So it's actually important to know which ones you have. So and then on top of that, there is a sheet of stickers in the game where you place the various campaign locations on the map. They're not fixed on the map. The map has little indicators like, this is a dungeon, this is a ruin, this is a town, but it doesn't say like, this is the Hollows. You have to go get the sticker that says the Hollows and stick it somewhere on the map. And you don't even have to stick it on one that is a town. You could stick it anywhere else on the map. But the point is, at the end of the campaign, that map is a keepsake.
Yeah.
That map is the map of the journeys that our group took.
Yeah, so
And
can I tell you a really cool one that's on Kickstarter right now that I'm also excited about based on my experience with Field Guide to Memory? So Xingyin Core is doing Amending, which you may or may not have seen floating around social media. But this game is about a journey to see a friend. And the idea is that you actually have a screen printed kerchief of the map. And then you actually stitch your story into the map of the kerchief. So not only do you have a keepsake of that experience, it's like a wearable, usable art object that you have created.
That's pretty wild.
So cool.
I mean, I can tell you that when my Forbidden Lands game is done, I'm probably going to put that map up.
Oh, yeah. I think frame that sucker.
I think what I'm going to do is buy some character art.
Yeah.
From the great Matt Morrow.
Yeah.
And basically frame it with the character art and make it a
keepsake.
This was our journey.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing I think of. And then when you were talking about Connective Path, it made me think of another type of metagame that so this has always been, as a designer, I read this essay many years ago by Richard Garfield, the creator of Magic, who was talking about the intentional design of the metagame of Magic. That there are things that, like, so you play Magic, right? You've played Magic. Like you play Magic at the table, but outside of the game, there's all this stuff you can do and you can share, right? So you can like make up decks, come up with combos, and then you can go post them on Twitter or in a forum or whatever, right? And share them with other people. And if you're, a war gamer, like if you're a 40K player, right? Part of the enjoyment of the game is painting your minis and sharing
the miniature painting. Yeah.
Like sharing the images of your paintings, right? So this game, so what I'm finding very brilliant about this game is that this game taps into all of those things very intentionally, right? So, and the way it was presented, so you and I have both played The Beast.
Yes.
Right? Which was fine. That's a game.
Oh, it was fun. I enjoyed it quite a bit.
It was. But what's interesting about this game is that because you all backed it on Kickstarter, you are all playing it simultaneously.
Oh yeah, like that's a thing. That is definitely a thing right now.
And that's going to be a thing that
is going to be part of the experience that is not going to be something that people can recapture after the fact, right?
Nay, I say, I think you can.
Oh, really?
Let me tell you.
Okay.
I think you can, because I think what you can do, if you wanted to, is you can just redo this. Like, not even change it, but for people who didn't play the first time.
Oh, yeah.
You can just start, like, you can be like, hey.
Start another cycle.
Sign up now. And, sign up now for X dollars. And starting in, April 1st, we're going to launch.
We're going to send out all the emails.
Round. Yeah, we're going to we'll send you all the emails. And the thing about that is, like, one, you can just go off and play this by yourself. Download the PDF, grab all the stuff, and go play it by yourself.
Yeah.
But I think the better model is to also offer the shared experience.
It's pretty cool, yeah. But as designers, I don't know how many times you would want to commit to that.
But you don't. But how much work do you have to do to send out the prompts again?
Yeah,
you already wrote all the prompts.
Yeah, that's true.
You're just redoing it, and then what you do is you tell everybody, like, you give them a hashtag.
Yep.
Right. So you just tell them, like, your hashtag is like whatever, like, Field Guide 2. Right? Or Field Guide April, whatever. And then they all go off and when that launches into their own shared space together.
Yeah, because there have been a lot of people, because so many of us are playing this at the same time, so the hashtags keep floating around, right? But the other interesting thing that this has led me to is when this game is over, which is going to end the Friday before this episode drops. So there's only like 2 days left, and I'm like, what am I going to do with my life? But so when this game is over, I did download the itch bundle, solo but not alone, which is still going, and it's like $10 for like so many solo games. So if this sounds at all interesting to you, like you might as well just go get like a bajillion solo games for $10, right? But the reason that I bring that up is because what I'm doing is kind of flipping through those, and I may rebuild the experience for myself by finding a game that works on a daily basis. I also backed so many Zine Quest games that are solo games, but anyway, that's beside the point. Also, Gion Shim has another one going right now. Just also super good looking. The Last Will and Testament of Gideon Blythe. Can't wait. Anyway, back to that one too. Moving right along. Current idea is to go through and find a solo game that, or maybe a couple, right, that I'm interested in playing that will work with prompts on a day-to-day basis, and then build my own group. Be like, hey, who would be interested in playing this game? Or like, hey, would you all be interested in playing a solo game together like this? And of these 3, which one do we want? Whatever that is, right? So yeah. I am seriously considering basically building my own mini version of this, just with my connections, to still have like the connection community part going forward into a different game to kind of tide me over.
Yeah.
Between things.
I mean, I think it's great.
Mm-hmm.
I totally, I might. You know how wary I am of committing time.
I know. It's okay.
I'm very careful about committing time, but other than that, I might be interested.
Okay.
Cool. All right. Are you good?
I think I'm pretty good. The thing I was going to just mention, because we were talking about artifacts created by games, was the Quiet Year, because that's a cool artifact created from a game.
I think it's they're always amusing. They are.
I don't know if they're like a keepsake thing that I would keep in my life forever, but they are a very cool artifact created from a game.
I mean, look, I keep lots of artifacts from games. I have character sheets from like 10 or 15 years worth of gaming.
Me too. Yeah.
those are artifacts. I keep character sheets from cons.
Yeah. Me too.
Those are artifacts.
Yeah, I have and notebook with notes and stuff. Yeah, but I think there's a difference between an artifact from a game and something that is created intentionally to be a keepsake of a game, to like have beauty that you would want to show off.
Yes, because I don't necessarily know if I would want to show off my map from a Quiet Year, because those maps tend to be kind of weird.
They're a little wacky.
they're meaningful for the people who played them. They're not meaningful for if you've ever seen one. Like, they're hand drawn. They're drawn by people around in a circle. It's very chicken scratchy. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, cool. But yeah, that was the last thing I just wanted to throw out there. But
sure.
Yeah. So good. You kept me in check.
I do what I can.
So Phil, tell me, what is giving you life in gaming this week?
For me, it is the game iHunt. iHunt, which is monster hunting in the gig economy, by Olivia Hill and Philomena Young from Machine Age Productions. This is a Fate game at its core. It has been extended a little bit beyond Fate core in ways that I really like, that I think are really neat. The premise is fantastic, that you are millennials who, in order to have enough money to survive and get by, you have downloaded this app onto your phone called iHunt, which is like the Uber of monster killing. Mm-hmm. Like, people put up contracts that they need to get rid of a monster, and you swipe right, you swipe left, and then you pick a contract and you go do it and you get paid. Which is incredibly dangerous, right? Like, yeah. I'm almost finished reading the book, and it is hard for me. There isn't anything I don't love in this book. So I will run down a number of things that I love. One, I love this premise. Urban fantasy is cool. I like urban fantasy. I think Monster of the Week is pretty interesting, right? Monster of the Week is perfectly fine. But this premise of this like app and trying to survive. One of my favorite things in urban fantasy is always your normal life conflicting with your supernatural life.
Yeah, that was how you ended up doing Part-Time Gods and making that a fate game, yeah?
Yes, Part-Time Gods of Fate is exactly the convergence of those things as well. So I really like that part of the game. This game has a very distinct political stance. It is not subtle in any stretch of the imagination, but I am in full support of it. It is a post-capitalism game. It looks at it is a horror game in both supernatural and in its look at post-capitalism. It is unabashed about this, and I am totally fine with that. Like, I am full support of this. If you are a person who does not dig games with a political slant, one, I'd be curious why you were listening to us.
And I would say, give me a game that is truly not political. But anyway, that's a different conversation.
No, I'm with you. But this game has a very strong political stance. It is very vocal about it. I agree with that stance very much. And I think that it actually enhances the game, right? Like, you are not to play like middle-class people busting up monsters because you're trying to make boat payments.
Yeah, no.
Right? Like, you are people who need to kill monsters to keep your heat turned on.
Yes.
Right? And it talks about poverty, and it talks about living poor in the U.S. In this current age. And it is uncomfortable. Like, it is not there are parts of the book that are uncomfortable. I have been in my past, I have at times in my life been very poor. And I remember a number of these things. And I was poor back when it wasn't quite as harsh as it is nowadays. So I connect with this game in a couple different ways. The writing is fantastic. It has a very distinct voice. Some game editors will try to get rid of that voice. I know my editors have struggled with me with it, but I am also totally fine with having a strong, like a personal voice in writing a game, and I like that in this game. The layout and artwork is fantastic. This book is colorful, and the layout style changes throughout the book in all sorts of ways, and I'm just there for it. Like, I was looking at, like, I was flipping through it, and I'm flipping through the PDF because I don't have the physical book yet, but I am going to get the physical book. And I'm flipping through it, and I'm just like, oh, there's uses of color and texture and font changes when they describe vampires, like the fonts get all like, calligraphy and fancy because it's vampire stuff. And it just does that all over the place. And I'm there for it. Like, I love it. It is visually pleasing to go through this book. And I'll just mention one other piece of it because I'm just getting this game off the ground. I'm doing my session 0. It has built-in safety mechanics. You could always use your own safety mechanics, but I will tell you that the safety mechanics in the game are perfectly serviceable. In fact, I'm just going to use the ones that are in the game then instead of my normal set because it checks off all the their tools check off all the things that I would like. And it actually also has a quite it's actually a really good premise, which is like, you really should play games with people you trust at the heart of it. And I also agree. I think when you are playing games with people that you have really good trust with, even if there is something that goes wrong, you're still in a safer space, right, than playing with people that you don't trust. Not that I want to get into that for this discussion, but anyway, I'm going to go ahead and engage the safety tools that are built into the book. I like them a lot. And then the last thing, which I think is really cool. I've played a number of other Fate games. Fate often has this rule where you don't have to kind of make up your whole character. right out of the get-go. Like you can leave some blanks and then fill them in as you start playing. But they take it one step further. They have this 4-act pilot episode where you roll no dice because it's just about the players being awesome and being, in the pilot episode of the TV show that, this game emulates. And what you do is in each phase of the pilot, you start to fill in more of the character based on your role playing.
I love that because you're just showing off competence all over the place and figuring out how you want to play them.
Yeah, exactly. So what you do is you do your first 5. There are 7 aspects in the game. You do the first 5 aspects, which are defined: your high concept, your drama, your vision board, and your day job. Maybe that's 4. You do those, and then you start playing the game.
Okay.
And then as you start to play it, you stop and you're like, okay, everybody should pick like their +4 and +3 skills. And then people start filling it. And by the time you get through the pilot, you should have your character finished. And I really like it because one of those things that is always tricky when you're making characters is that you often make your character in totality before you've actually played the game. And and I have a grace period for this in my own games, right? Like I allow you 4 sessions out to make any changes you want to your character because now you've actually played the game and you're like, oh, I think I really want to, I want to change this for that. And I'm, I just allow that to happen in,
sometimes
between sessions.
I've sat down at your table and at a convention or something and whipped together a character sheet for a PBTA game really, really quickly. And just gone, cool, this sounds like the right stat, go through. And then we've started playing and I've discovered that the playbook that I picked up, all of my skills are based on a different stat and been like, this
Correct.
is kind of a problem.
Yeah, and if I'm running a convention game, I just if somebody's like, "Oh, can I swap my, my personality for whatever?" And I'm like, "Yeah, whatever."
Whatever, just do.
We're here to have fun, make it fun, right? But I really like this concept, and I really think that this is a very stealable concept for game designers.
Oh yeah.
This idea of the pilot episode where the whole purpose of having without engaging the mechanics of the game, right? Because you just want to talk through it. You don't want to spend 4 hours doing this. You're really only supposed to spend an hour doing this. But by talking through it, you discover your stuff. And we did the first half of it and it totally worked. As we started going into it, the players were like, oh, you know what? I think I'm a +3 occult based on this. And just started jotting them in. And I really like it.
It's great.
Yeah. So it's a neat game. I will say this, because a couple people have said this. The PDF is $30. The print book, which gets you the PDF and the print book, and I think some other stuff, is $70. And I know that sounds high, but this is a small company who is being honest about what it takes to keep the lights on.
Yeah.
And I was very okay with that. I was like, you know what? I dig that. I respect the fact that, yes, this price is high and some people will be like, oh, $70 for a game book. But it takes a lot to put these together. And when you are a 2-person shop, that means the rest of this stuff you're farming out. And if you want to live off of this, the economics are harsh. So I was very sympathetic to it. And I will definitely be getting the print version of the game again, because I think when you see the PDF, it is gorgeous, right? It's just colorful and all this stuff. And there's also a ton of supplements because their strategy has been to put out these little PDF zines.
Yeah.
With more rules and more stuff. And there's a bunch of those out now too. And those are actually not that expensive.
Yeah. That makes sense. And it makes sense because they're being written by the same people. So you shouldn't have the D&D splatbook problem.
No, it's great. And you don't need to use all of them. They just have they have one for romance. Like if you wanted to like play iHunt, but you want to up the romance in the game, especially if you want to get into like supernatural romance.
I mean, who would even, I don't know why you mentioned that one in particular. Right? I'm so shocked and astonished over here.
Well, hang on, because if you like that one, let me tell you the other one that they have is, I believe they have a supplement on, either they have it or they're working on it, of iHunt, but instead of playing it now, you are 1950s housewives.
Oh my God. Can we combine those two?
Yes, exactly, right? Like,
fuck. We are explicit. You have been warned.
I mean, can you imagine, like, you know...
I'm sitting here with my little bangs and my little flowers and my little buttons and my little skirt and petticoats. Right.
And then just, like, pick up your baseball bat and, like, head out to the warehouse district and, like, beat some restless dead, into a pulp so that you can get some cash.
Yeah.
A little pocket money. In 1950s terms. Yeah. So anyway, I'm really enjoying this game. I when I saw it come out, it had caught my eye and I just hadn't jumped on it. And when I was switching games, I mentioned it in passing, and one of the other players in my group was like, hell yes, I want to play it. I've been interested in it a while. And the other two, as soon as they read the premise, were like, oh, we're fucking in. And I was like, let's do this. And then I started reading the book and I was like, I'm enjoying this quite a bit. So I make a heart symbol here with my hands, and I heart. I hunt.
I hunt.
Cool. Let's move on.
Let's talk about some non-gaming stuff.
Yeah, let's talk about things that are giving us life in the non-gaming realm. Do you want to go first?
Sure. Because we sort of almost mentioned it. So in the mail right now. So my hair is getting long again. COVID hairs, right? I chopped it once and I'm just like, whatever. But growing it longer has given me the opportunity to futz around with all sorts of like actual vintage looking do's. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't know. We'll see where I end up putting it later. But like for right now, this is fun. So one thing that I have been excited to mess around with has been, and now I've like done all the research and stuff and am no longer feeling self-conscious about constantly being totally vintaged up. So like, here we go all the way in, right? So one thing that I've been excited to try and haven't had the right tools to try in a really effective, like stays in all day kind of way, because my hair is terrible at keeping curls, which is a challenge for vintage hairdos. Just say it. Is bumper bangs. Bumper bangs are fun. So bumper bangs are like when you get that like perfect circle, like tube of bangs in like a U shape over your forehead.
I mean, I'm looking at you so I can see this in action.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't really have them right now. Right now I've done like a cool, like off to the side thing, which is sort of like a play on my current standard that I can just pull off with bobby pins. And you can do bumper bangs with nothing but bobby pins, but like my hair won't keep that curl very well, so it would be difficult. So I've ordered the appropriate hair supplies, and I'm couching this term because if you aren't a person who has done a bunch of hair things, are going to be like, a what now? Because it's called a hair rat. So I've ordered a rat for my hair. Which is basically like a little foam bendy thing.
Okay.
And then you like roll your hair around it and then just like pin it in place.
Okay, I get it.
Right?
Strange name, but sure.
Right. I think it's called a hair rat because the old-fashioned way to make these wasn't with foam. You would just collect your own shed hair until you had enough, and then you would wrap it up in netting and make like a little fluffy sock thing, like a rat's nest out of your own hair to put under your other hair, and then nobody would be able to see where your actual live hair started and your old dead hair ended. Other way around, where your actual live hair ended and your dead hair started. There we go. Anyway, so it's called a rat, and you put it in your hair. And then you can also use it for like the twisty up in the back, like bunny things and stuff, which is also super cool because I don't actually have enough hair to truly like do that thing. That's a little bit more 40s, but I'm decade flexible.
I don't think you're trying to hit a certain time period, but more of a certain aesthetic.
Yeah, not super specifically. I tend to really lean hard in the 50s because, let's just be honest here. I love wearing petticoats. I love wearing petticoats. And that is a thing that is very much associated with the 50s and like doing a little waspy waist cinched in, like cinched belty dealy. And then like circle skirts. So A, love petticoats. B, love circle skirts. C, many of them have pockets. It's fantastic. D, I'm wearing lots of grandma sweaters and I feel really cute and put together anyway, which is good because I am a cold human and I want to wear wool.
Yeah, I think your COVID look is rocking it.
Yeah. COVID has definitely given me the opportunity to like completely change my wardrobe and commit 100%. I had before committed about 70%, I think. Like I was leaning in hard. Now I think I'm more like about 120. Like I'm definitely all the way there. I don't have not vintage days anymore. And now I do the hair too. But there's not a lot of point in doing the makeup because I put on a mask from going out of the house anyway. Wah, wah.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, tell me about your trip. I'm excited about this.
Yes. So I on Monday, which is why we didn't record Monday night.
Yep.
I had I was able to get my first vaccination shot.
You're Fauci ouchie.
My Fauci ouchie. So New York State rolls these things out in groups, and I was eligible for Group 1B for medical reasons. Nothing too major, but I have, I'm a big dude. I have elevated blood pressure, and that cleared me to get into Group 1B. And after much fighting with the website, because the demand is so high. But I was able to get a vaccination appointment 2 hours away to the east in Syracuse, which is not a hard drive, right? It is 2 hours on the thruway, which is like just get on the thruway, drive east, literally drive east straight for 2 hours and get off the highway. Good. So I took a day off from work and made a day of it. I took a tip from Jerry and I went to the only Long John Silver's in Western New York and got Long John Silver's because why not? I have some history with Long John Silver's that I won't go into on the episode, but it is very nostalgic for me. So like I did actually hit Long John Silver's. It was quite delicious, and then took off for Albany. The state facility is fantastic. It is it's on the state fairgrounds in Syracuse, so super easy to get to. Like popped off the highway and was like right there. Enormous parking lot, so no problem getting parking. Organized and run by the National Guard. I say National Guard. It was either the National Guard or the Army. I'm not sure. Everybody was in fatigues, and I didn't quite get a catch at insignia to see exactly who they were. But very neat, very orderly, and very efficient. Like there was a big line queue, like a big serpentine thing, like if you're trying to get tickets at Gen Con kind of thing.
Or like security at a large airport like mine.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it actually did look like morning security at DIA, right?
But were there lizard men in the basement?
I mean, maybe, but the thing was, everybody was social distance. They had markers on the floor, and everybody was very good. Like, just stood on their markers and moved. But that line just never really ever stopped.
Right.
Like, I was like, even if I stopped, it was like for a minute, and then like I would walk like half of one of the, like one of the lengths, and then sit for a minute, like stand for a minute, and then move another one. I was in and out with my 15-minute wait because you got to, like, after you get the shot, you got to sit for 15 minutes. I was in and out in about an hour.
Yeah, which is pretty quick.
Very quick. Everybody was very nice. My experience with first shot was the actual shot was nothing. I get the flu shot every year. It was no different than that. It goes right in the arm and you're done. that night, it started to get a little sore, like the injection site got sore. And the day after, which was Tuesday, it was very sore. And now we're 2 days out, it's Wednesday, and I can hardly feel it.
Yeah. Cool.
Like it seems to be fine. I think I made a whole bunch of spike proteins, and my body is now learning what to recognize. And mine's a Pfizer, so it's 3 weeks after your first one. So that week, the 22nd, we may or may not record a show.
Yeah, we will see about that.
We're not going to record one on the 22nd,
No.
but we're going to kind of see how Phil feels.
Yeah.
For people who are, have not been following this, but I think most of us have, your second of the Pfizer or Moderna shots can have kind of a more profound effect, because the first one, your body's like, ooh, what's this protein I should be mounting a defense against? And the second time you get the shot, it's like, oh, game on, right? And then like your immune system reacts in...
Kill it with fire.
Yeah, so... And I don't think anyone knows like who gets the 4 days in bed with the chills and aches, and who gets the my arm hurts a little, but I'm mostly okay, or I'm sleepy, whatever. So because of that, I'm just not committing anything that week. So we're going to tentatively not record that week.
Yeah.
We'll remind people that when it comes up. But I don't want to say like, oh yeah, we're totally going to record that week, and then like on Monday I can't record because that's the day like after I got the shot and I'm like asleep. And then like Wednesday comes and for whatever reason I had the heavy reaction and now we can't record. Like it impacts your schedule, it impacts my schedule. So we're just going to take it light.
Yep.
But the cool part is I will then have had 2 vaccinations, which makes me feel a lot more, I feel like we're getting to the actual end of this pandemic, right? Like
starts to feel like a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah. Well, like we had a talk the other night in our game group about like, well, hey, like when we all have the vaccine, like would we be comfortable playing again?
In person. Yeah.
And it was like, well, I think so.
Yeah.
Like that sounds right.
Yeah.
But like it's been a year,
weird.
so it feels wrong.
Weird, but I think it's right.
Yeah, like I'm like I think that's right. Like we should do that. That kind of thing. So yeah, I mean like that's a conversation like that we actually had the other night. Now not all my friends have it yet. Like not everyone in my game group, but if you keep listening to the news, like the J&J vaccine's out now. More like they're now saying all adults will have it by May.
Well, they're saying they're going to produce enough for all adults by May, but they still have to get it into all of the adults.
Sure, but
it
I mean,
still moves it up a bunch. Yeah,
absolutely. But also, all the adults I care about are near major distribution hubs.
I mean, that's
true. Like you're in a major city. Buffalo has, like New York has a whole infrastructure already built. If it had more vaccines, it would just have more people going to these sites, and it would just spawn up a few more of them. And again, the nice thing about the J&J vaccine is that it's more stable, so that actually can go out into rural areas where it was hard. It was going to be a lot harder to bring the Pfizer and Moderna ones. Anyway, it's the first little bit of hope I think I've felt in a while. It's the first time I've been like a little bit hopeful, and it feels pretty good, right? Like it feels like just a little bit longer, right? Unless you're in Texas and Mississippi, and then it's they've gone full Hunger Games. Not the people of Texas or Mississippi, just the government.
Yeah, which unfortunately means the government is going to let people who don't care kill a bunch of people who do.
Yeah, I mean, I think that by and far the people of Texas are quite rational and understand mask and safety and all that. But, their government's just going to hang them out in the wind. But anyway, that's a separate topic. Anyway, I have my first shot. I feel fine. Like if you've been wondering about it or you're nervous about it, I can tell you right now from my personal experience, the first shot is not terrible. I mean, my arm definitely hurt, but I also have some experience with hurt arms, so it wasn't really the end of the world for me.
You were just symmetrical.
Well, yes, I did decide that. I was like, you know what? I'm going to not have the injection put into my bad arm because my bad arm hurts from time to time anyway. I really can't imagine if it like got inflamed from the shot.
Ow.
I was like, it already, there are times where I'm not happy with it. I would be seriously not happy with it. So I was like, no, go put it in my good arm.
No one else could see the bunny ears around good arm.
But it did mean that like Tuesday I went to get something like off the top shelf, and I normally do that with my right arm.
Yeah.
And I like put my right arm up and I'm like, ugh. And then I went to put my left arm up and I'm like, ugh, whatever. Like not really better. Like whatever.
Aw.
I was just like, whatever, fine. Like,
ow.
It's great. Anyway, that's I think it's a good place where we could wrap up.
Yeah, I think so.
For tonight. So yeah, we'll talk more. We'll keep you up to date. But basically, if my production math is right, if we don't record on the 22nd, then there would be no episode on the 29th.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
That is probably the episode that we are talking about.
Yep.
Now, if for some reason that like by the end of the week I feel fine, we may just drop it into a quick record.
Because we can do that now because I don't edit anymore.
And hint, it will probably be a chit chat.
Probably. Because then we won't have to write any notes.
Correct. It will probably be a chit chat if we do one for the 29th. All right. Anyway, we should wrap up. And in order for us to wrap up, we have to talk about another show on the Misdirected Mark Network. Perhaps you know one that we could discuss.
Well, tonight I was thinking that I would tell you about the Misdirected Mark podcast, on which Phil, who's that guy? Bob and Jerry go live every Tuesday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern to break down and get inside games, game mastering, playing games, and game design in an effort to entertain and inform you. And that, my friends, is what it sounds like when I actually look at the text.
Say, Senda, where do people find us on the internet?
Well, you can find us on Twitter at Pandas Talk Games. You can find us in the Misdirected Mark forums at forums.misdirectedmark.com. You can drop us an email, panda@misdirectedmark.com, or you can chase us down on secret TikToks. Did you change your TikTok handle yet?
No. No. Remind me later.
Okay, I'm going to write a note. Anyway, Phil, once they find us in one of those places, what can they do with that information?
Yeah, you should leave us topics for us to do shows about. I mean, obviously, we did not do that tonight. We did a chit chat, but we have our reasons for when we deviate from that. But we love to get topics from you, questions, topics, things you want to hear us talk about, etc. Our goal on the show is always to hang out with each other, but really it's... our real goal is to make your games better and more enjoyable for you and the people that you're playing with. And the way we do that is by taking those topics and sharing some of our insights and experiences. So please, just keep those coming in. If you like what we do here, elsewhere on the Misdirected Mark Network, please consider supporting our Patreon campaign. It's patreon.com/MMP. Patrons get access to the Slack Room for Life. I love that place. Mm-hmm. Quite nice, quite enjoyable. Great group of people. If you there's all sorts of topics to talk about. You can come join us on our Friday video luncheons on Zoom that I host. That's also quite enjoyable. You get access to the Bamboo Lounge. 15 minutes of absolute nonsense from us. You get the Misdirected Mark after show, which really is just I don't even know how to explain it. Like it's whatever we decided not to go off the rails on and talk about during the show winds up in the after show. So it can go anywhere. It can go anywhere from ranting to funny stories or whatever. It's pretty enjoyable as we go into the as we cover the after show. After the show on Misdirected Mark. And then, there are other things that in the past we've been able to give out to our patrons. I think that's going to come back around in 2021 at some time. We're, coming out of the pandemic. We'll start reviving the production arm of of Encoded Designs. And once we start making stuff, we can start sharing stuff.
Yeah.
Which we like to do with our patrons.
Yeah.
So that is also a thing. Also, your patronage goes to keeping the lights on and makes everything that we do here possible, from hosting our show to making sure that we back up the website so we don't have another catastrophic failure, to just gear. We podcasters need gear and stuff. So you make all of that possible. So thank you very much. We appreciate your support. If you are already backing the Patreon campaign, thank you again. If you are unable to back the Patreon campaign, that's not a problem at all. We totally understand. There is a thing you can do. We really need help getting people to hear us because we think, and I think you think, that if you listen to us, you will love us. But in order to do that, we need to get people to listen to us. Already, we thank you because you've already told all your friends and fellow gamers to listen to us, and we appreciate that. But there is one more thing you can do that helps the faceless search algorithms pair our fine show with some listeners that we or you don't even know. Senda, what's the thing they have to do to make that happen?
Well, you can leave us a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or the podcatcher of your choice. Every new review we get really does actually help new people find the show, because it does the thing for the faceless algorithms. As they sort through the fields of AI, they go, yes, pandas, recommend this one. And then we jump for joy and eat more bamboo. And it is delicious. Yes. Good. Thanks so much to everyone who's already left a review. We super duper appreciate you. I bought bamboo the other day, and it's in my living room now. I have real live living bamboo, and I promise I won't eat it. Probably.
Yes. There we go. Very good. Say, Senda, what topic do you want to do next week?
Well, we got one from Karen 12 that we need to address.
Show me what you got. 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 Show me what you got.
This show is a joint production of She's a Super Geek and Misdirected Mark Productions, the media arm of Encoded Designs.
Show me what you got. 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 Show me what you got.
Bloopy. Whoa. Am I really loud? No, I think I'm good.
Click, click, boom. I love that song. Alrighty. Let's just jump right in. Let's do show.
Yeah. I think that's a good idea.
We'll do show because I'm so excited to show you the Bamboo Lounge.
Oh, boy.
I've been sitting on this for a while, and I was like, I could have just texted you this earlier, but I'm like, no, I'm going to save this.
You want to see it.
I want to see with my eyes. I want to see it. Okay.
I'm taking this off because my sleeve is apparently short enough that this will happen. And then I'll be like, was someone rolling dice? What was happening?
I have my recording watch face on.
Ooh, how fancy are you?
Special watch face just for recording.
But you can't really show me because you can't really like twist your arm around there.
Yeah, but it
turned off.
it's got regular clock, date, but it's got stopwatch at the bottom. Oh, so I can keep track of the elapsed time of the recording.
How long we've been. So this is the Phil tries to keep us from going long. Watch face.
That didn't help when I did it on Misdirected Mark yesterday.
Didn't help at all. I know.
But at least I knew. I was like, wow, we're really like, this thing's taking forever. All right, let's get into it. Ready?
Yes.
Boom. Boom.